I'd like to welcome you all to the Holistic Health Fall Series, Sheltering in Place, and our presentation today. I'll stop sharing the screen. That will make it easier. And I'm your host, Eric Pepper. I'm a faculty at the Institute for Holistic Health Studies at San Francisco State. This lecture series is sponsored by the Institute for Holistic Health Studies from the Department of Recreation, Parks, Tourism, and Holistic Health at San Francisco State. And this will be the last presentation for this fall series, and then we'll restart it again for the spring 2022 lecture series. I feel so lucky that San Francisco State has a holistic health study program for students and for faculty and staff. For students, the classes fulfill the upper division general education requirements, provides a minor and a certificate in holistic health. And for many students, in this program, they can learn how to manage stress, create a healthy lifestyle, and gain greater self-awareness. More than 80% of students who take the classes state, I've learned healthy ways to cope with my stress and mental health. I'm learning community is key. I learned how to value other cultures and traditions that are different from me. I learned to accept myself and change my negative thoughts to positive ones. I learned to go out in nature to recharge. The purpose really of this lecture series is to provide holistic health perspectives and approaches to optimize health and well-being. And I'm so appreciative, so many of you already turned on your camera. Please do turn on your camera, because for our presenter, it's such a way that he can know what is going on. It provides feedback. And also in our research studies, we have observed that when people turn their cameras on and then try to act and interact with the speaker by nodding their head, by shaking their head, or even by asking questions, it makes the session much more alive. So please be willing to ask questions of the speaker as well. And you can, if you just want to put them in chat, I'll look at that, etc. But I'm so honored today to introduce our speaker, who is Madhu Anziani, who is a graduate of San Francisco State and had a degree in jazz world music and is certified in sound, voice, and music healing from the California Institute of Integral Studies. And he's most well known as a vocal looping artist and a ceremonial song leader and composer. I first met him, although I did not remember it at that time at all, in 2007, when he was a student in my holistic health class, where he saw a demonstration of healing by a Japanese healer. And then in 2009, he felt two stories. As he would say, he doesn't remember anything of the fall, and broke his C7 and C5 vertebrae. He became a quadriplegic, could not breathe, talk, move his arms, legs, and was incontinent. And at the hospital, his parents did Reiki, and he played his healing music. And in this sense of somehow of acceptance and exploration with music vibration, using sound and Reiki and healing energy, he somehow recovered his mobility. And in fact, it was his work and because he had presented at my class at San Francisco State a few times, in which he shared music techniques such as toning that led to a study we published, and which called "Which Quiets the Mind More Quickly and Increase Heart Rate Variability, Toning or Mindfulness." And the data was overwhelming. When people did toning, their mind became much quieter, much more quickly. It was truly remarkable in the sense what the data showed. It showed that people's mind wandered less, they had fewer intrusive thoughts, and they also would feel the body vibration. And to me, that was very interesting, that quality. So on that note, because I don't want to talk for the time, I'm so honored that Madhu is willing to be the speaker today. And I have so many questions really of him, which is, how come he healed? What was the process? So hopefully he'll share it, and also had the power of music. Madhu.
So nice to be here and be invited by Dr. Pepper to share some of my story. And I see all new faces. So I'm grateful I have this opportunity to share a small piece of my life that is something significant, hopefully, for the current time. I've been able to tell my story over the last 10 years or so. It was back in 2009 that I sustained this spinal cord injury. And my life has been a constant healing process. It still is, even though I live a normal life, I live a beautiful life. But losing all of my mobility, losing all of the basic functions of being a human being was the greatest teacher. And it put me to the test 24/7. It was a great test of will, and it was a great test of the mind. And it was an opportunity to go fully into the teachings that I had received around Reiki and energy healing and sound and vibration. So, what I can say is, having experienced being paralyzed from the neck down, well, the first thing that happens is one realizes that there's a lot of thoughts that occur in the mind, while meanwhile the body cannot do anything. So the mind becomes the primary experience. And I got to experience how busy the mind is. And it was an opportunity, a forced opportunity, to attempt to get into the gap between thoughts and to attempt to find a sense of ease within the discomfort, within the pain, within the sense of dread that was very easy to fall into. When I looked in the mirror at myself for the first time, I remember the very moment when I was put into an electric wheelchair and I wheeled myself into a bathroom and looked in the mirror and I saw myself as a quadriplegic person. It was, I didn't know how I was going to get out of that situation. But I had enough tools and teachings at that time to at least try with what I had. And one of the main tools was Reiki. Reiki, as Dr. Pepper mentioned, it was originally shown to me in school, in class, when a Japanese healer, Murumatsu-san, who now I believe goes by Abe, he demonstrated doing energy healing with his hands on volunteers. And I got to witness spontaneous healing in people. And I'd never experienced that before, where this man was just using his hands without touching the bodies of the people. And it was a particular woman who he was doing the healing work on. And when he completed, he said, "Well, how about you bend over and touch your toes now?" And she was able to touch her toes for the first time in many years since she had a car accident. And she was like, "Whoa, what happened to me?" And I was just as amazed. And I knew right in that moment I had seen something very real and I wanted to learn this. And Murumatsu-san said, "You don't have to be born with a gift in order to do this. Anybody can learn how to heal in the same way." And the closest thing to what he does is called Reiki. And so I learned from a teacher who I spent a weekend with, learning, getting an attunement to do healing with hands. And then I continued to practice on myself and on others, family members and friends. And I got really into it just before my injury. So when I found myself in the hospital, this is one of the tools that I had, invoking what is called Reiki. It's a Japanese word. It means universal healing energy. Rei means universal. Ki is the Japanese word for healing energy, life force energy. In Chinese, it's called Qi. In India, it's called Prana. In Hawaii, it's called Mana. In Peru, in the Andes, they would call it Hambik-Anchai. There are so many names for the healing life force energy. And this is what I was invoking when I realized the condition that I was in the hospital. I was faced with a lot of um, like doom scenarios, like, Mr. Anziani, you're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, and people will have to take care of you. You'll have to accept, being a good quadriplegic, accepting the care, learning, being able to just be okay that people will have to feed me and change me and bathe me. And I'm very fortunate that I only experienced that for a short window of time. I was only in the hospital for 2.5 months. I walked out of the hospital. And the doctors in the hospital named me the Superman patient. They called me the Miracle Man as they saw me healing rapidly. And they also witnessed all of the healers doing work on me. And they also heard the beautiful sound healing music that was played by my bedside pretty much constantly. And they knew something special was happening. And they had never seen somebody heal from the type of injury that I had as quickly as I healed. And so I want to take a pause there because I want to be, I don't want to just be talking to myself to the computer screen. If I want to let this, dialogue be interactive with anybody. So if Eric
Well,
has any questions or anybody here has any questions, please.
let me ask one question and then we'll go on. And the question I would ask is, when you are at that time being paralyzed, how did you not, keep feeling depressed? How come you kept a sense of optimism or other perspective? Because most people would be telling you, how did you cope with that? Or how did you process that?
Right. Well, in my Reiki training, one of the ways to run this energy, to allow this healing energy to be present, is by following what was called the 5 principles of Reiki. And these 5 principles were really simple. It's a phrase, basically. Just for today, I will not worry. I will not get angry. I will be grateful. I will work hard. And I will be kind to others. So within these 5 principles, and it's a short commitment. It's just saying, just for today. Even in a condition you could imagine being totally paralyzed, it's easy to go into worry, fear, anger, all those emotions. But to at least say, hey, well, let me just give it a shot. Let me just see if healing is possible. And these 5 principles, I love these 5 principles because it shines a light on the state we need to be in order for natural healing to occur in anybody's body. If we're in a state of anger, there's chemicals that are present in our body that are blocking healing from happening. If we're worrying, if we're anxious, if we're running fear thought forms, whether they're words or imagery of any kind, the healing is not going to take place. We're doing a disservice to our body, and our body naturally wants to heal and will heal if our mind can create the conditions to allow for it to do so. So the commitment to gratitude, that was an interesting experience. To be a total quadriplegic person, to be laid out, totally dependent on others, but being in a state of gratitude. And what I discovered is being grateful for everything even the small things, being grateful to be able to wiggle my big toe. The gratitude power, it's like a superpower. The feeling of gratitude. Thank you. As soon as we go into a state of gratitude, these are very healing chemicals. And we could probably do studies on the names of all the chemicals that arise. But even without that, the experience is all that matters. So this is one of the ways that I was able to transcend the experience of having doctors, people in white coats with a clipboard saying, you shouldn't be thinking about walking out of this hospital. You should be thinking about being a good quadriplegic. How I got to free my mind from those images that were being shared with me. So part of it also was just ignoring, not letting it stick, but visualizing the I am already healed outcome. So I guess I'm speaking to a couple different layers here. There's the 5 principles of healing, of being in a state of gratitude, and then there's also visualizing the healing outcome as if it's already happened. And in my years studying since this initiation that I had of having to heal from this experience, I've learned that the proper way to heal is to visualize the perfection, visualize the joy, either in yourself or another person. Visualize as if the healing is already done. And that gives the body a template, a structure to moment by moment regenerate itself towards that aim. So I hope that's a sufficient answer to the question.
Well, I have 2 questions in that sense. When you visualize, there are many ways to visualize. Some people can just visualize outside, and others, when they visualize, as if they experience it almost like it's real for them. And I presume for you, it means when you are visualizing, it wasn't like a little picture outside in front of you, but almost a kind of imaginary, or you could almost feel like it was happening and was real for you at that moment. Would that be correct? Or I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say there's a 2-step process, because what we don't want to get into is like, okay, I need to visualize. All right, I gotta think about this. I gotta think about, okay, I'm walking, I'm standing. Okay, I really need to force it. It's like that's the wrong state to be in. There has to be first a neutral place, a calm place. And I like to follow one of the teachers who I met a couple years after my injury, a Qigong master, Master Mingtong Gu. He teaches a lineage called Wisdom Healing Qigong. And I spent 2 years studying really closely with him. And one of the principles that I learned from him was smiling. Like the simple curling the lips upward, just doing that, and like smiling from the eyes and the mouth, simply doing that, the body responds to that and begins to produce the healing chemicals. So if our face isn't like a scowl, we're not contributing to our healing process. So the first thing before we try to visualize is the smile. And then let's say there's some type of an ailment in the body. Visualize like there's a smile happening there. And this is something that is easy for anybody to do. You can do it right now with me. Imagine your heart. Feel your heart. You can place your hands upon your chest and feel your beating heart. And with the gentle smile on the face, I want you to connect with your heart and imagine the face of a smiling baby, feeling so good. a laughing, smiling baby. Feel this sensation of a happy baby smiling in your heart, smiling at you, feeling so good. Keep visualizing the happy baby energy. Imagine you can hear the laughter of a small child and see the smile, see the smiling eyes smiling at you. This is the practice of the inner smile. This is a way to deeply connect to your body and rewire your body, rewire your connection between your mind and your body. It's the ancient practice that's called the inner smile practice. So even just one moment of this, you can imagine expanding this experience for 5 minutes, developing, cultivating this relationship to your body in this way. I find that that comes before like visualizing, is the smiling, the feeling, creating the ease. Because for some people, visualizing isn't easy. So the feeling is more important than the visualizing. And then the visualizing can come next, where along with the smile, you visualize like a beautiful, like I could visualize for myself, like a perfect spine and all the nerves perfect. So what is, for every condition, there's a way to visualize the perfection that goes along with it.
Thank you, Madhu. I would have a lot, and in addition to the healing, because many people may not be connected to their body in the same way. When I put my hand on my chest, maybe I don't quite feel my heart beating. People vary. And what you did in addition, I would say, was using music or vibration to allow the sensation to become almost kinesthetically aware of the sensations for your body and to draw your attention to it. And I know that one of the techniques you used or was a kind of toning to almost have a sense the body resonate, and in that resonation in the body, as if your attention can be drawn or directed to those areas to support the healing or allow the healing energy to go through them. Would you be willing to guide us or describe that process more of the toning or qualities like that?
Certainly. Yes, and I'm happy you bring this practice of toning. Um, has anybody ever done toning before? You can raise your hand. This is a practice that my grandmother was the first to demonstrate for me. She was a very advanced being when she was on this planet. She was a meditator, and I had a very special grandmother, and I learned how to meditate from her when I was in high school. I began getting curious, like, what are you doing? How do you meditate? And one of the things she would do is this toning practice. I would hear her in the other room through the wall. I could hear her going, ah. And I was like, what is going on? But I finally gained an appreciation for it. And especially after she died, I utilized a cassette tape that she left behind. That was a cassette tape. Now it's a digital recording also, but at that time, Wayne Dyer had an instructional program called Meditations for Manifesting. And it was all about the ah sound, and that this sound ah can manifest coincidences in our life. And I began practicing this. And I started having a lot of synchronicities and coincidences occur. That's a whole nother story I could share. But what I want to share with you all is the simple practice of it to feel what it is that I'm talking about, because it works on so many levels. And I got to experience when I got paralyzed that this vibration works on the physical level, and it can transform the body on the physical, on the mental, on the emotional and the spiritual level. So this is like a primary sound healing practice that anybody can do. As long as you have some of a voice, you can make this vibration. So what I like to do is, again, hands on the heart, because you'll feel the vibration primarily in the chest. And what toning is just simply the repetition of an elongated vowel sound. So this vowel sound we'll use is the ah sound.
Maybe what I
So
would recommend, if that is okay with you, is that everybody turns on their mic as well so we can hear the sounds together,
let's try it. Let's see what happens if you want to turn the mic on.
because it will make it more alive for you as well. So do turn your, so do it with whatever Madhu is going to give the instructions for, then let him talk, and then let the mic be on so we can co-hear the sounds, because often the resonational qualities are much larger in a group.
Okay, let's see if it works. Sometimes when I do this, it gets a little chaotic with the sound, but let's try
Great.
it. And while you're doing the the sound, and if you're unable to do the sound, imagine you're making the sound internally, and just imagine that in your heart. I saw the chat. Um, so if you can do the sound, um, we want to feel as if the sound is coming from right here. So I'll do it first just to demonstrate. And it's nice to do the eyes closed. Feeling inwardly, I feel my heart, and then I take a full breath in. So it's just simple as that. A full exhale is dedicated to the ah sound, and keep your awareness inside. Feel your chest. And we'll do this a few times together for about a minute or two. Okay, so close your eyes and let's take a deep breath in. Feel the chest. Keep feeling the chest again. Continue feeling it deeply. Two more times, feel your chest. And keeping the eyes closed. Keep the eyes closed and relax. Feel inwardly. Notice your body. Feel your heart. Just breathe naturally. Keep the focus inside your chest. Gently smiling on your face. Feeling the inner smile inside your heart. inside your chest, imagining a happy baby smiling at you, signaling to your body all is well. Everything is functioning perfectly well and in harmony now. So be it. So with this practice, a very simple way to connect with the body and drive the focus internally. Now, this was a very short practice, but I want to just slowly guide this, and also we don't have enough time for a deeper practice. But maybe we could do a couple other versions of this so I can share with you, because I want you to have tools. I mean, there's so much words and talking and blah 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 blah, words we use to communicate. But when we consider vibration, I want you to consider that your body is primarily made of water. And if you've ever seen the studies that show how vibration affects water, vibration creates beautiful geometric patterns in water. There's a study of this. It's called cymatics. 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 How vibration affects physical matter. When you use your voice in this way, you are creating a perfect sine wave pattern. Your body understands this. Your nervous system understands this. And when you do this, you're creating the harmony. So it goes beyond the words. For me, this is the primary use of a voice. Why are we given a voice? The whole purpose of having a voice is the ability to create vibration. And so when I teach toning and vibration, I remind people that you have this beautiful gift of a voice. Every single one of your cells in your body recognizes your voice and loves when you create these long tones and sustain those tones. And you will be a witness to your own healing and transformation on all levels, mind, body, spirit, emotions, by doing toning practice. You will be a witness to it. So, are there any other questions, or should I go into another type of a practice?
Let me make a comment first. What Badu said about the sense of tuning, the sense of vibration, it is most interesting that when we did this study where people did toning versus mindfulness meditation, that in the toning, what you could see is that their breathing pattern slowed. That let the heart rate as they inhaled speed up. And then as the heart rate, as they did the toning sound went down, they got this very significant increase, what is now known as heart rate variability, which is really balancing the parasympathetic sympathetic system. And you also see this when people chant or do prayer like Ave Maria or other tones like that. And you see that the breathing pattern slows to maybe less than about 5 or 6, about 6 breaths a minute in the toning. And all of a sudden you get this total harmony or rhythm of the heartbeat going up and down in the body, which really brings balance to it. And I think that is the remarkable part. The second part, I would like to ask the audience in a sense, how many of you noticed that when you did the toning, one, you felt vibration in your chest area? Just put your hand up or so, right? I think almost all of you. And notice so often we are totally unaware of these areas. So all of a sudden the toning bring some passive attention to it that would support it. And possibly I can bring it down to my arms and legs, anywhere. The second part is, how many of you found that when you did toning, your brain basically stopped? All the noise you had in your brain, the worries, the concerns, for that moment, you were much more quiet in your brain. At least just lift your hand to see how that goes. And I think that's true for me and for almost everyone. And these are the kind of we have studied this quite well with Madhu, and it's most remarkable that it's probably one of the quickest ways to have people stop their monkey mind and then be present in their body. And really, it's not in their body, it's soma, mind, body, and spirit are all together. And I think the richness, I thought, of Madhu's, just the guidance she just did on the meditation, is both feeling the awareness, getting the quietness, but then I presume for your own healing, in your own healing process, you could almost direct that or allow it to flow right down your spine and down your legs and feet.
Yes, that's true. Sound can be directed to anywhere in your body. It's all connected, and our nervous systems respond so well to sound. And so there are a couple other sounds we can make to,
Great.
unless there's any other questions coming from the audience.
If people have
here.
questions, just put them into the chat and I'll raise it, or you can speak out loud. So maybe you want to guide us through a few other pragmatic tools we can use to mobilize our own health and well-being or peacefulness.
Sure. Well, there's so many tools. But since we're on this topic of vibration, I'll show you a couple more sounds that you can do. Because one of the things that I end up showing people is how to open up their voice. And when people hear me sing, they're like, wow, how did you learn how to sing like that? And it was through toning. It's through doing a practice like this for 20 minutes at a time, just one note. And so I think it is a virtuous thing to want to open the voice and make the voice stronger. And if you want to do that, toning is a way to strengthen the voice and also get through any discomfort around the voice, because I know the voice is a sensitive organ for people. A lot of people have been silenced. The voice has been cut off. And so toning is a very simple, elegant way to reclaim that power that you have in your voice. So another sound we can make. We can connect to our belly. So if you put your hand on your belly, this is the primary energy center in all of martial arts, all of Qigong. This is called the Dantian. And this is our center where we store energy. We store the qi here. We store the ki here. Many traditions honor the belly button. This was once, our primary source of life force from our mother, and it still remains that way. And so this is an energy center in the body we want to cultivate a deep connection to. And like I said, this is a primary focus of all Qigong and martial arts practice. And so one of the simple ways we can do that with sound is I have my hands here on my belly button, and we make the sound of ooh, the ooh sound, and feel as if the ooh is coming from your belly as you create this sound. And I want us to do this for a couple of minutes and just have that experience. So again,
once again, you can turn the mics on to join him.
Yes. All right, so let's bring our hands on the navel and closing the eyes. Take a deep breath in. belly. Keep feeling the sound as if it's coming from your belly. Three more times. Twice more. Feel the belly once more. And now relax, keep the eyes closed. Feeling your belly, just notice this place in your body with each breath, simply noticing, allowing whatever sensation you might feel, just observing the belly, gently smiling on your face. And feel the sensation of an inner smile happening inside your belly, as if there's a happy baby smiling right back at you. All is well. All is well. Everything is functioning well. So be it. And whenever we do our toning practice, there's two elements that makes the sound effective. There's the sound itself, and then there's the silence after the sound, which in some cases is more important. Allowing for a few moments of silence after the sound, so we don't get up and start moving around and doing all sorts of things after the sound. By allowing there to be silence, that transformation that has occurred via the sound is allowed then to integrate more deeply into the cellular memory. So your body begins to remember these states. Because the more and more you do it, the more and more you tone, you go into that place of a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart. That's why it's a practice. You cultivate that. And the body remembers this. And so the silence allows for that deeper memory within your body. So you begin to walk in the world in a different way. Less anxiety, less preoccupation of the mind and thoughts. And that's a virtue. Our life tends to flow much better when we limit the number of thought forms that go through our mind in any given day. And this is a very easy way, as Dr. Pepper said, to begin to reduce the amount of thoughts. I think there's something like 60,000 thoughts a day that run through our head. So, what would it be like to cut that in half? What if we only thought 30,000 thoughts? Or what if we thought 10,000 thoughts a day? What if we could reduce it to 1,000 or 100? Toning is a way to begin to create space. I hope that's been your experience so far, is that you're creating even just a moment of space. This can be a practice of installing little moments of spaciousness at a time.
So if I think of the toning which you did also when you were paralyzed, you would do this, then in a sense, you would almost get a sense of vibration going through your body. And then you'd almost be, there's both a sense of total acceptance of where you were, and also almost seeing in the toning afterwards, almost knowing in a sense, seeing it healing or being all whole again. As if you're putting a new blueprint in at the end. Would that be a way of thinking what sometimes happened?
Yes, and the gratitude feeling. Like I was fortunate to have a lot of loving family and friends that would come see me, and I just felt so grateful. It was not difficult for me to go into a state of gratitude, like that feeling, like thank God for my life, thank you. Just like that feeling of like full body gratitude. And sometimes I know it's not easy to feel gratitude, so it has to build up. You start listing the little things. I'm thankful for this roof over my head. I'm thankful I have warmth right now. I'm thankful I had breakfast. That I have hot food. And then like building this gratitude muscle. When you combine that with a practice such as this, they amplify each other. Um, and one of the ways I like to think about it is I feel like I'm communicating to the whole universe, because I look at the universe like everything is in a state of vibration in the whole universe. We're all a part of this vibrational experience, this vibrational soup. Everything is vibrating. So when I intone with my voice, I am participating with all of the vibration, and I'm sending a message that is very easy for the universe to understand. It's very easy for the universe to understand a sine wave plus a smile of gratitude. Those two put together, it's like a communication. And I find that when I communicate that out, when I it's like a dispatch, and then it comes back to me equally. The communication is two ways. So my discovery of being immersed in this is that yes, my life has been pretty mystical. And the more I do these practices, it remains that way. Sometimes I forget, but then I remember, oh, I'm a vibrational being, and I'm in a vibrational experience. So how can I participate in that and create harmony in my life?
Let me ask a question which in the one that people ask, and that is the sense, and maybe you all want to show, you use not just the toning, but many other chanting techniques as well. And also you have created most remarkable, at least the ones I've listened to, and you have done also live performances, the most remarkable music of layering, of looping in a sense. I wonder how you do that, or and how did that impact people when doing this? Or are you willing to even share some of that music with the audience?
Hmm. Well, you know, I have learned a lot of ancient languages. I sing in a number of languages. I would like to share some music before we end our
Great.
time here. But I grew up with going to Hebrew school. So I learned Hebrew at a young age, and I chant in Hebrew, and then through my healing process, I was exposed to Sanskrit, which is one of the roots of the English language. And I was exposed to mantra in Sanskrit. Mantra is a Sanskrit word which means a mantra is a sonic formula. It's a formula of sound that is repeated, and it heals the body, mind, and spirit. And one of the most these are Eastern practices. One of the most powerful things I experienced in the hospital was chanting mantra, repetitive sonic formula, and I can speak this out loud, what it sounds like. I learned a mantra in Sanskrit called the Gayatri mantra, and this one goes like this: Om Bhur Bhuva Sva Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. So you can imagine chanting that 108 times over and over. And this is what I would hear as a recording in the hospital. And I learned to chant that. And now I can chant it more rhythmically. Om Bhurbhuvasva Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvasva Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. And imagining what that would be like to chant over and over and over. And that's actually a more complicated mantra. I like to share with people a more simple one. Maybe the most popular mantra in the world. It is a Tibetan mantra, and it's 6 syllables. So this is one that if you don't know it, I hope you come away with something new that you've never heard before, but it's likely that you've heard this. If you're in a holistic health program, you've probably already heard this 6-syllable mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum. That's 6 syllables. Om Mani Padme Hum. And the essence of this 6-syllable sonic formula is this: may all beings be free of suffering. It's a beautiful prayer. May all beings be free of suffering. And Om Mani Padme Hum is the vibrational code that activates that within the body, within the environment. This is maybe the most chanted mantra in the world, and it's beautiful. The Tibetan culture is so beautiful. They are masters of compassion and training the mind to go beyond suffering. All suffering comes from the mind. How do we train the mind? It's through mantra. And mantra, another meaning of that word, is a tool used by the mind to protect the mind from the mind. That might be a little bit of a puzzle to decipher, but our mind sometimes is our worst enemy. And how can we protect it? With these mantras. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. So, may all beings be free of suffering. I want to share with you a short video. I only have time to play a little bit of this, but if you want to hear more of my music, I can direct you to where you can spend more time listening.
I've put the website
Oh,
link into the chat for those who want to know more about your materials. And we have only
yes.
about 2 minutes or so, just to be very short time.
Okay, well, this will be real quick then. And let's see. How do I share the screen? I gotta click this.
You click
Share
on the green button at the bottom, then when it
Share
pops up in your
screen, share sound. Okay. Here. Can you see this?
yes.
Okay. Here we go. I'll put it in the middle here.
The essence of all teachings is right here. The essence of all teachings is right here. The essence of all teachings is right here. The essence of all teachings is right here. The essence of all teachings is right here. The essence of all teachings is right here. The essence of all teachings is right here. The essence of all teachings is right here. Radiance to all teachings is right here. Open your essence of all teachings is right here. Right now. Essence of all teachings is right here. Open your eyes. Of all teachings is right here.
All right.
Well, Madhu, truly what a treat. And I know I've seen you performing live in my classes when you did the looping. It is truly deeply touching because not only does the music do it, but when you do a live performance, we can just feel the energy flow out and the whole room takes it in and amplifies it as well. And I would highly recommend for any of you that, to look at his music, have the opportunity to attend one of the live performances. It's most remarkable. And Madhu, I truly want to thank you for sharing your background, the story. It's deeply inspiring. And I think the lessons learned can be applied for many of us. And I think it's really appropriate almost for the Thanksgiving holiday where we do Thanksgiving. And it's in a sense of gratitude for all the gifts we have all received. And so I want to thank you. I'll just give a big applause. And I'm sure all of us would do that as well. Thank you so much. And now I want to just shift for one more moment to share with all of you. If you have any questions at all about the program, we offer a program at San Francisco State on holistic health. So here is the links for the Institute for Holistic Health Studies or the Department of Recreation, Parks, Tourism, and Holistic Health for classes. Enroll this spring in many of these classes. We have classes in Western perspectives, Eastern perspectives, in fact, a class on Tibetan practices on healing. It's a great opportunity to develop, to both take classes, to complete your upper division general education, to do a minor in holistic health, or just learn strategies for kind of self-care, which is beyond just body care. And with that note, I very much appreciate you all attending today, and we look forward to seeing you next spring when the series restarts. Thank you.
Very much. Yeah, really